if people are scrolling past your content, ghosting you in the DMs, even nodding at your stories, but never buying from you, then this is for you. Because the truth is, you don't need more content, you need more connection. That starts with your story, not just any kind of story, but the type of story that makes people trust, stay, and buy. In this masterclass, I'm going to break down 7 magnetic storytelling moves that quietly do the selling for you. These are the same shifts I have used to help thought leaders, coaches, professionals, and personal brands to scale from invincible to irresistible. And the best part is, you don't need to be a natural storyteller to use them. You just need the right structure. So grab your notes, pause if you need to, but stay with me till the end. I've got a special gift for you.
Hello, so amazing to see you here today. It's so nice to have you with me today. We're going on a very exciting 7-day journey in unlocking the power of storytelling, right? How we can apply it to your brand, apply it to sales, apply it to your content writing, apply it to creating emotional connections with your target audience, and every other thing you need to know about storytelling. You have to agree with me that storytelling is the current rave now in the industry of the creative economy. It's a rave for business marketers, operations, financial industry. I mean, everywhere you can imagine, even on social media, storytelling is a rave. And the reason being that it helps to create solid human connection. It helps your audience to know you, like you, and trust you. It's a very good tool for sales conversion. It's a very good tool for effective communication, and it makes your content less boring as regards, unlike when people use facts and figures only to share information. It makes people glued to you. It makes people want to hear what you have to say or read what you have to say, and of course understand your values and your brand better. It helps you to position yourself as a thought leader and an expert in your field in a more interesting manner. Yes, so storytelling is the art of using narratives to communicate a message, right? And for brands, it involves connecting with an audience emotionally by sharing your journey, your struggles, your successes, and the core values of your brand. But before I go ahead, I'd have to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Ishioma Elora Ona. I am also known as the Chief Story Seller, LinkedIn Fixer, a business strategist, human resource practitioner, a leadership and executive coach, and of course, I have trained over 20,000 people for a couple of years. I've had a very wonderful corporate world experience for over 2 decades and recently moved into the creative space as a content creator and a writer, right? I've authored about 10 books, and I'm able to say that when it comes to storytelling, I'm well versed in that area. So I'm here to guide you on this interesting 7-day journey. I hope you have fun. I hope you learn so much. And I trust that you'll probably hit me back with a message if you need to learn more. So moving on in terms of unlocking the power of storytelling. I just defined to you what storytelling is, which I go again is the art of using narratives to communicate a message. For brands, it involves connecting with an audience emotionally by sharing the journey, struggles, and core values of the brand. Now, why does storytelling matter for brands? Why does it matter for your business? Right? Why do you have to unlock the power? Right? Because it helps to build trust and authenticity. It captivates your audience attention. I mean, who doesn't like a good story? I love a good story. Okay, I'm sure for those of us that love watching movies, a good movie keeps you glued from beginning to end. Okay, right. So it makes your brand memorable because people remember stories more than facts and figure. I remember when I shared my first viral story on LinkedIn, where I narrated how in 1999 I almost got used for money rituals. I mean, it wasn't like I planned it. It just came as a sporadic thought. Let me just try and share this story, and it went viral. I was shocked, and of course, it led to consecutive other stories that made me evolve into what they call a storyteller. And I started getting comments like, "Oh, you're a storytelling queen, chief of storytelling, and oh, you've got some skills here." And I started honing my craft, working on it to get better at my storytelling skills. Right? So it creates an emotional connection, encouraging the loyalty of your fans, loyalty of your customers, loyalty of your clients. Of course, as long as you have the ability to pass relevant message across. Remember, relevance is really, really, really important. So you just don't tell stories because you feel like telling stories, but it has to be relevant to the message you're trying to pass across. Especially if you're selling services or products, it has to be relevant to what you're talking about, right? And it differentiates your brand in a crowded market. I mean, I'm not the only sales and marketing strategist or business strategist. I'm not the only human resource practitioner. You are not the only social media manager, copywriter, or whatever profession that you are in. But storytelling, because your stories are your stories, right? You can't be telling other people's stories. I mean, unless you're sharing success stories and wins of your clients, presuming you have one. But when you are sharing your personal experiences, other people cannot share the exact same experience. Even if you were in the same situation, the way you tell the story, definitely there will be a difference. And this is what differentiates you in a crowded marketplace. Okay, so how can storytelling drive revenue here, right? So storytelling increases engagement and conversion. And this is not just for business owners only, or entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or CEOs or founders. It also works wonderfully well for professionals. It helps people to trust your brand and build some level of credibility for you. Now, personal and relatable stories help customers to identify with your brand, leading to increased sales or increased trust in your brand. And people buy based on emotions, and stories evoke these emotions. People buy because of how you make them feel, how your stories has made them feel, how your stories inspires them, how it's able to trigger that emotional connection, right, of that message you are trying to pass across, how your journey inspires them, how your struggles and your success or your core values makes them feel, yes, she gets me. It's also a very wonderful way of explaining the pain points, the issues, challenges, or problem areas of your target audience, your clients, your ICP, or whoever it is that you're trying to communicate with, right? So when you use storytelling to communicate and pass these messages, the level of understanding increases than when you use, big and complicated grammar, or when you're trying to explain some really intricate and complicated thing. Storytelling has a very wonderful way, of breaking things down to make it easier for people to understand you. Of course, remember that your story has to be relevant, it has to be clear, it has to be simple, it has to also be relatable. It means that whatever characters you use, plot you use, language, means of expression, examples, analogies you use have to be relatable to people's everyday life. It has to be realistic. So invariably, I'm not advising that you concoct stories or make your stories fictional. As much as possible, sharing your experiences, especially for your clients or your target audience, they relate better when you are authentic, when you are vulnerable. And I don't mean washing your dirty clothes in the public, if you get what I mean. I mean being honest, right? Being honest, showing a level of integrity, showing them your vulnerability, right? So being vulnerable, of course, there are boundaries you shouldn't cross, right? So I always advise when you are sharing experience stories, keep them as professional as possible, unless the people are exceptionally close to you. But for business, it's safer for you to just stick to professional experience stories. I mean, like what you faced on the job, trials and tribulations, if I may use that word, you used in growing up in your career, how you overcome obstacles, how you're able to become better at what you do, how you feel the pain or the problems of your target audience, and the steps with which you're going to use to get them required results when it comes to services, or how your products can take them from ground zero to sky high 100, and how long it's going to take for you to give them that necessary result. So all this can be won, right? All this, even pitches, sales pitches, can be done using storytelling, explaining statements of problem, and from there moving to the solution, right? And the process of the solution. All this can be done with storytelling, and that is why we say that there is so much power in storytelling. All right. So we move on to an example here of Sarah. Yes. So she's a struggling coach who wants to fill her coaching program, and she used storytelling to connect with her audience. Now, the reason why Sarah was struggling here was because she had a problem communicating with her audience, because it was just for her a matter of facts, figures, buy from me, my program will do this for you. She was just screaming only about the features and not about the benefits. So when you are selling, always have it in mind that you should not sound too salesy when you are selling. Storytelling helps you not to sound too salesy. So when you use storytelling, please make more focus when you are telling the stories. Remember, I said relevance should be, emphasis should be more on the benefits rather than the features. Emphasis should be more on the results you are promising your clients rather than the futures, right? And when she was able to understand this, she used storytelling to connect with her audience. And it now made her clients transcend from knowing her to liking her and trusting her, otherwise known as the KLT factor. And once she was able to overcome that, sharing her own success and struggles, showing that she's human too and can feel their pain and understands their pain and is listening to their pain and is in the right position to solve their pain, her results became a 50% increase in sales, right? So the action plan here is one, identify your unique story, which is what we call your why, your unique selling proposition. Why are you in the business of weight loss? Why are you in the business of nutrition? Why are you in the business of being a content writer, social media manager, or even a storyteller, a doctor, a lawyer, accountant, a project manager, whatever profession you are in? Write down your story. Why? What led you there? What was the journey like? How many years did it take you to get to where you were? What step did you take to get there? And then write down the 3 key challenges you've overcome, in this your quest or journey of getting to where you are currently. And then share your story with a friend or family member so they can analyze, correct you if possible, and of course, like I say, practice makes better, not necessarily perfect, because you keep working on yourself to improve who you are. And of course, as usual with my classes, I always like giving assignments. So share your story on your social media platform and tag me to comment. And of course, I'm ready to give you a thumbs up if you do a very good job. And I mean, if it's not so good, I am willing to correct you where you need to be corrected. Okay, so I hope you're able to get something from day one, and I'll be seeing you in day 2 class. Hi, how are you doing today? I hope you had an amazing time today. I welcome you to day 2 of our class of unlocking the power of storytelling, right? We had a very exciting day 1 where I shared so many tips and strategies on the reason why storytelling is important. So let's just have a brief recap, which is that what is storytelling? We spoke about what is storytelling, which I said is the art of using narratives to communicate a message. And for brands, it involves connecting with an audience emotionally by sharing your journey, your struggles, your successes, and the core values of your personal brand. In those days when you talk about having a brand, people usually attach it to big organizations and big companies. Now people focus more on the individuals than the organization. So really, if you've not been paying attention to your personal brand on social media, you need to start doing that now. Okay, now why does storytelling matter for brands? Because it builds trust, it makes you more authentic, it captivates your audience's attention, it makes your brand memorable. I mean, that is so exciting. It creates that deep emotional connection between you and your target audience, encouraging a closer relationship, a more loyal relationship, a more unifying relationship where you not only understand your client's pain points, they also understand that you can deliver the solution. It also differentiates your brand in a crowded market. Okay, and storytelling increases engagement and conversion, because normally when you tell stories, people that resonate with the stories want to engage with the story, especially in the comment section. They want to add their own, lend their own voice to the story, especially when it is personal and relatable. It helps customers to identify with your brand values, which leads to increased connection, increased sales, increased brand visibility. Because the truth is that people buy based on emotions, and stories is a very wonderful way to evoke these emotions, right? And before I forget, I'll just introduce myself briefly again. My name is Dr. Ishioma Elora Ona, the Chief Story Seller, LinkedIn Fixer, Business Strategist, and Executive Coach. And I, my humble self, will be handling day two lecture as well. And of course, we are going to be on a very exciting 7-day journey. And on day two, we are handling crafting compelling characters. Why? Because every story has characters. When you watch movies, yeah, I love movies. And if you're a movie lover like me, you remember that in most movies, they have the hero and they have the villain, right? They have the good guys and they have the bad guys. And I mean, most stories, you always want the good guys to win, right? So in crafting compelling characters, the characters have to be relatable to your target audience, because these are the frameworks for effective brand storytelling, right? First of all, you have to know your audience, because knowing your audience means you are understanding their pain points, their desires, their motivations, and you have to craft stories that resonate with their personal and professional challenges, because that's the only way they're going to know that you feel their pain and you understand the problems they're facing, right? So if you were a weight loss coach, I would assume that when you are going to know your audience, like if your niche is for busy professional women weighing say from 80 kg upwards, that's already a very targeted audience, right? So that means you're not a weight loss coach to just anyone. The specification you're handling is busy professionals weighing from 80 kg upwards. That's what they call a niche, right? But I mean, this class is not for that, but just giving you an example. So if you're going to know your niche, understand your niche, knowing, so you have to know, as a weight loss coach, you have to know your audience in that regard. So what are the pains of a professional woman, a 9 to 5 woman, or a business or entrepreneur woman who is weighing 80 kg and above? What are her pain points? What are her desires? The pain points, are they health challenges, diabetes, obesity? What are her desires? She wants to lose weight 10 kg in the next 2 weeks, or she wants to regain her self-confidence, she wants to regain her self-esteem. What motivates her? The fact that she looks at herself in the mirror every morning and she's not happy with what she's seeing, right? What are these pain points that need to be attended to, right, for that kind of niche or target market? And this is where you, as a compelling storyteller, when you are creating your characters, need to be very well aware of. All right, so you have to align your storytelling with these values so that it feels authentic and consistent. So when you are writing your content, you are crafting these characters, you know exactly who you are speaking to. And in this crafting compelling characters, you have to remember that you are to build emotional connections. You have to appeal to the audience's emotions. What makes them happy? What makes them sad? What is their joy? What is their fear? What are their hopes? Empathy. You have to share relatable stories that invoke a sense of I have been there, to your audience. And the beauty of it is, in most cases, if you have actually worn the shoe of your target audience, if you have felt the pain of your target audience, it is so much, much easier for you to communicate that pain to them and the fact that you know the solution. Take, for example, as a weight loss coach, you actually at some point in your life weighed over 100 kg, you were depressed, you were unhappy, you probably had people, looking at you in a condescending manner, clothes wearing fitting, you had health challenges. So when you are now speaking to this particular target audience of women over 80 kg, you can resonate with how they feel. You can resonate with the despair. You can resonate with the sadness. You can resonate with what their desires are, their pain points, their motivations. So it will help you to craft stories that resonate with their personal or their professional challenges. And which is why we say that customers are the heroes of your story. Make them the focus. When writing content, writing your pitch, or selling yourself, remember that the focus should not be you. The focus should be your target audience. Hence, we say the customer is the hero and your brand is the guide that helps them achieve their goals or solve a problem. Your brand should be positioned as the number one go-to that has the results to deliver to take care of their pain points. And I always tell creators, you just need to focus on one pain point. You don't need to be able to solve too many problems. Just pick one problem, focus on it, become a master in it, keep pushing until you gain a certain degree of perfection that properly positions you as an authority or expert in your field. And why I always say that the customers are the heroes of your story, make them the focus, is so that they feel heard, they feel needed, they feel seen. And like I said before on day one, they would make comments like, he gets me, she understands me. And it opens them up emotionally to connect with you and make them make the first step to approach you to say, okay, how much are your services or how much is your product? I feel like this product or service can actually solve my problem. Okay, so which is why when you are writing your stories, the focus should be them. When you are writing, you should be talking about what they call your ideal client persona. If it's an overweight woman, if it is an overweight man, if it is someone who's having a career rut, maybe they're not going as fast as they wanted in their career, or someone that is having a mental block, and maybe you're a mental health coach, or you're a relationship coach, or you're a social media manager, or you're a copywriter, whatever profession you are in, you should ask yourself, who are the people I am meant to serve? What are the kind of problems these people would be facing? How can I solve these problems that they are facing? So we take an example of John, who's a founder and increased his sales by 20% after highlighting his customer success stories in his marketing. Reason why this is a very good strategy is because when you are explaining your customer success stories, right, you are taking other people, your target audience or your ideal client personnel, from how you met your client, well, technically at a point that was not too good, which I liken to a ground zero, to a top 100 points or top 80% points, how you were able to help them out of a particular situation or challenge. Yes, okay, I'm using the weight loss again. A weight loss coach who met a client at 80 kg, depressed, sad, career not going well, clothes not fitting, not agreeing to mingle or network with people, now has gotten to a position where she's feeling confident of herself, she's happy with who she is, things are looking better, she's dropped 15 kg, everybody's saying, wow, 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 you've lost a lot of weight, she's feeling better about herself, she's feeling more confident, she's not doubtful of who she is again. That is a typical example of a success story, highlighting the pain points, the problem, statements of problem, and taking your clients through the process, which is okay. I put her on a meal plan, on a 6-week meal plan. I put her on an exercise plan. She works out 3 times a week. These are a sample of the workouts I gave her. These are examples of the meals I gave her, and I ensured she stayed consistent. So a credible process to prove to your clients that you actually know what you are doing. And of course, before and after pictures showing as proof that this is what she was before when I met her, and this is what she is now. Like they say, seeing is believing. And of course, what that does is that it will help you increase sales. It always works. We also know it as testimonials, right? The clients can write testimonials, and you now buttress the facts or the situation with your own proper explanation using storytelling of the process. And in John's case, it increased his sales by 20% after he highlighted the customer success to the target audience. So the action plan here is identify your ideal customer avatar, which I have explained before. Create a character profile, the goals, pain points, and motivations, and develop a customer-centric message, that can help to streamline the kind of clients exactly you are looking for, so that when they read your content, they know that you are talking to them, and then they can further reach out to you to say, I need your service, I need your product. And as usual, we end the day with an assignment where I would say, share your customer avatar in your post and tag me to comment. And as usual, if you do an excellent job, I give you a thumbs up. And well, it's not so good. I mean, not everybody's going to get it at the first time. I can guide you further on what to do, to make sure you get it right. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a lot from this. It's been an exciting time with you, and I trust that you will implement all what you've learned from day 1 and day 2. So I'll see you in class for day 3. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are welcome to day 3. We had such an exciting time for day 1, where we spoke about the art of storytelling. We had an exciting time for day 2, and now we are on day 3. Yay! I hope you've been having fun all this while. I hope you learned so much from day 1 and day 2. And most of all, I hope you put into practice the action points and the assignment, right? Don't forget to tag me so that I can correct you where you need to be corrected, or I can just give you the thumbs up saying you did a good job. Once again, my name is Dr. Isioma Elora Ona, the one and only chief story seller, yes, and I'm honored to be hosting you today on day 3's topic, which is setting the stage with context. Right. Now, as a storyteller, you have the power, right? You have the power to transport your audience to a new world using your compelling narratives. Okay, you have the power to influence your audience. You have the power to evoke emotions and inspire action. But before you can take your audience on this journey, you need to set the stage with context. Now, I'm sure you'll be wondering, what does Dr. Ish mean by setting the stage with context? What does that mean? What does that mean? Right. So, context is the foundation of compelling storytelling. It provides the necessary background information, establishing the tone and creating a connection with your audience. Remember, as I always state, you need to have that connection with your audience. You need to get that emotional vibe, that thing that makes the audience know you, like you, and trust you. Okay? And they have to see that you are authentic. They have to see that you have a targeted message for them. They have to see that whatever message that you are sending to them is not only relevant, but has the ability to solve their problem or their pain point. Now, why does context matter? Context is essential because it helps your audience, to understand the relevance and significance of your story. They need to understand the relevance. Why is it important to us? What makes it so significant? So without context, your story may just seem disjointed, confusing, vague, boring, and the worst part of it, irrelevant. Because any story you tell has to be relevant to your target audience, has to be relevant to your lead, has to be relevant to your prospect, has to be relevant to your client, or else it will just be a waste of your time and energy and their time too. So by providing context, you can establish credibility. Remember, we're talking about why context matters. You can establish credibility. The context helps to establish your credibility and authority on the subject matter. If you are a weight loss coach, if you are an accountant, if you're a lawyer, if you're a social media manager, a copywriter, whatever profession you are into, using context helps you to establish yourself as a credible person or an authority in your field. It also helps, it matters because it helps to create empathy. By sharing the context, you can create empathy with your audience, which is so crucial and important, and helping them understand the challenges and struggles you face. So once you can put it into context to show them that you understand their challenges and their fears, of course, using yourself as an example, it makes the connection even deeper. Okay, now context also matters because it helps to build anticipation. Context can build anticipation and excitement. It makes them want to read everything you have to say, gain all the knowledge, and glean all the information that will help them move to the next level. It makes your audience so eager to hear the rest of your story. Context, that is what context does. It builds anticipation. It creates empathy. It establishes credibility. And the last one is it provides clarity. Yes, a story that is not clear would just be a waste of time, a useless story, an irrelevant story. It needs to be clear, because when it's clear, understanding comes in much quicker and easier. So context clarifies the purpose and the meaning of your story, ensuring your audience understands the key takeaway. There is no point telling a story that has no takeaway. There's no point telling an unclear story. There's no point telling a story that has no purpose or meaning. So it must have purpose and it must have meaning. So we move on to the types of context. There are several types of context you can use to set the stage for your story. Personal context, that is sharing your personal experiences, your background, what motivated you, your motivations, to create a connection with your audience, because people want to see the real you. They want to see what you're about. They don't want any facade or any fake behavior. They want to see your authentic self. Okay, now it's also the other type of context is historical context, which provides historical, it helps your audience to understand the significance and relevance of your story. Then the cultural context, which shares cultural it shares, sharing cultural context too. It helps your audience to understand the nuances and complexities of your story. Any area of your story that is complex, as related to culture, religion, family background, or whatever, issues surrounding your story, it helps your audience to understand you better. That's part of the clarity we're talking about. Then the industry context is provides industry. When you're using industry context, of course, that depends on the kind of story you're telling. It just helps your audience to understand the challenges and the opportunities you face, especially if your target audience are also happen to also be, in the same industry with you. Okay, context makes your story relatable. Now, how do you set the stage with context? To set the stage with context, you have to follow these very necessary steps. Okay, so start with a hook. Begin your story with a hook that grabs your audience attention. Provide background information. Share relevant background information to establish the context. Okay, I go again. Start with a hook, which is also known as headline. Begin your story with a hook that grabs your audience attention. Provide background information, share relevant information to establish context, then establish the setting. Every story must have a setting. Describe the setting and environment to help your audience visualize the story. Introduce key characters. Remember, characters basically are yourself, your client who's the hero, and any other person that is involved in your story, the relevant characters, not just anybody, but people that contributed to your story in a very important way. So when you introduce key characters and provide context about their roles and motivations in your life, your story, your path, whatever it is, whatever important role they played, that's part of the importance of introducing the key characters. Is it your father, your mother, your friend, your colleague, your supervisor, your cousin? You really need to define their role in your life or in the story. Now, preview the story. Okay, so when you preview the story, it provides a sense of what is to come. That's how to set the stage with context. It makes people yearn and want to read more and know more about your journey, because sharing your journey is what makes you more human and more relatable, and gives a deeper connection between yourself, your target audience, or your client, as the case may be. So we are looking at an example here of Emily, who is a solopreneur, and being a solopreneur, which is also the same thing as being a business owner. She was, in her business, she was having a very serious challenge engaging or connecting with her clients, because her stories had no context. They were not clear. There was the hook was not strong. The call to action was not nice at all. There was not enough background information for better understanding. She was unable to introduce the key characters to her story, and at the same time, the cultural and historical context, maybe as to the date and time of happenings, was so unclear. But when she started applying the rules of using context in storytelling and how to set the stage with context in her stories, in sharing her journeys, her failures and her successes, she saw a 30% boost in engagements after sharing her personal stories, because her clients were now seeing her in a different light. So we're moving on to the action plan, which is to determine your story's context in terms of industry, trends, challenges, successes, failures, highs and lows, and research relevant statistics or studies for comparative analysis, right? And then you cannot incorporate context into your storytelling. Now, let me warn you, you may not get it right at the first time, but the more you practice it, the better you will become at it. So it's very, very, very important that you get this right. Okay, so, and remember, I'm always looking to I know some people be like, oh, Dr. Ishan, her assignment again, day 1, day 2, now day 3. Yes, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. So I want you to share a statistic, relevant to your industry. Whatever field you are in, there must be the data and records relevant to your industry that you can inculcate into your storytelling. Okay, so in conclusion, when you're setting the stage with context, it's a crucial step for compelling storytelling. It makes it more compelling, and by providing context, you can establish credibility, create empathy, build anticipation, and provide clarity. Remember to start with a hook. Please don't forget that. A very engaging hook so that people are endeared to read more. Provide background information, establish the setting, introduce your key characters. Please don't forget, it could be your clients, it could be yourself when you're sharing the story, and preview the story. Of course, with a strong foundation of context, you can transport your audience to a new world and inspire them to take action, because you have been able to overcome the KLT factor and they trust you enough as the first point of call, to solve their problems and give them the required results. So I'll be seeing you in day 4. Hello. guys, you're welcome to day 4 of Unlocking the Power of Storytelling. Yes, 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 and I am here once again, your humble host, Dr. Ishoma Elora Ona, the one and only chief story seller. I am so honored to have you here. And once again, I hope you had a very wonderful day 1 with me, day 2 with me, day 3, and now day 4 in this 7-day, very interesting and exciting course on unlocking the power of storytelling. So today we are going to be talking about the power of emotional connection. You really cannot achieve much with storytelling if you are unable to connect emotionally with your audience. The truth of the matter is that to be able to convert your leads, convert your clients, influence your audience, they have to be able to emotionally connect powerfully with your content or with your words, whether it's written, whether it's being said. This is so crucial, to closing those deals, to writing those wonderful content or posts. There just has to be a very powerful element of emotional connection, because the average human makes a lot of emotional decisions based on how you are able to make them feel. Okay, and as a storyteller, you have the power to move, you have the power to inspire, and you have the power to motivate your audience. And the thing with the power of emotional connection, I like to always call it unlocking the heart of your audience. It's so important. When decisions are being made, people like to make decisions from the heart. So how do you create a connection that resonates deep within their hearts? The answer lies in the power of emotional connection. Emotional connection is the secret sauce that transforms a good storyteller into a great one. Anybody can tell stories, but to be defined as a great storyteller, you need to be able to know how to connect to the heart of your audience, and you have to leave a lasting impact on your audience. So why does emotional connection matter? Why? Why does it matter? Because emotions drive decisions. Emotions drive decisions. I take that again. Emotions drive decisions. Emotional connection is essential because it creates empathy, evokes emotion, builds trust, and inspires action. So I'm going to take them one at a time. Now, I said emotional connection is essential because, one, it creates empathy. Emotional connection helps your audience understand and relate to your story on a very deep level, not surface. We don't want surface here. The level has to be deep for them to be able to, for you to be able to, influence them to make that decision you want. And the second one is, if it's the emotional connection is essential because it evokes emotions. Emotional connection evokes emotions, and it makes your audience feel invested in your story. They feel like a part of you already, like a kindred spirit. Like they know you. Your story just makes them want to know you more, or feel like, I know her, I understand him. I've been there, I've done that. I know what he's talking about. I felt that pain before. Or I'm happy he's felt the pain, so he knows how I feel. And it also builds trust. Emotional connection builds trust, establishing a bond between you and your audience. It just makes them trust you. Remember, we keep talking about the KLT factor, that before anybody buys anything, service, products, or your brand from you, they must know you, they must like you, and they must trust you. It's a process. You can't skip it. They just have to know you first, and your storytelling helps them to know you. Your storytelling helps them to like you, and your storytelling helps them to trust you. And the fourth one is, it inspires action. What is the point of telling someone a story when there is no action after everything has been all said and done? So emotional connection inspires action, motivating your audience to take action or make a change. right? A change has to have been made, because what would have been the essence of telling the story? Now, there's a science behind emotional connection, and I'll try to do my best to simplify it down a little for you, but you can still do some research work on it, but I'll try and break it down. So research has shown that emotional connection is closely tied to the release of oxytocin. I'm not a medical doctor, but it's a fact. You can confirm that if you want. Often referred to as the cuddle hormone. You know what? Cuddle, cuddle hormone. Oxytocin, I almost chewed my tongue there, is released when we experience social bonding, trust, and emotional connection. This hormone plays a crucial role in creating a sense of attachment and loyalty. Please, these hormones, it's not for only women, it's for both women and men, just in case you're wondering, right? So this hormone plays a crucial role in creating a sense of attachment and loyalty between you and your audience, making emotional connection a powerful tool for storytellers. So it's so important. That oxytocin is a very important hormone. Remember, cuddle hormone. So, once it's released, it helps, people to bond more to you. It gives them that good feeling every time they read your story. And like I said, it helps them remember how you made them feel. So, how do you create this emotional connection? Good question. So I'll just share some tips with you. One is be authentic, be yourself. Don't fake it, don't fake it, don't fake it. Be yourself. You don't need to copy Dr. Ish. You don't need to be like Dr. Ish. Be yourself. Share your own personal experiences from your own point of view as politely as possible, please. Be vulnerable and add emotions to create a genuine connection. Don't just tell the story in a cold manner. Don't write it in a cold manner. Write it with some emotion or say it with some emotion. Okay? Use sensory details. Okay? Use sensory details. I always tell my students you need to be descriptive. You need to be descriptive with words on how you feel. If you're sad, say you feel sad, and describe how you feel sad. When you're telling stories, you say, my heart dropped to the bottom of my belly. My heart was beating so fast in fear. Where descriptions like that helps people to, it drives the point home and helps people to connect more with you. So use sensory details to paint a vivid picture, making your audience feel like they're part of the story. When you want to say, oh, and I was running kitty kata, kitty kata, kitty kata, kitty kata, and then you find that your audience is also running kitty kata with you. Don't mind me. So number 3 is show, don't tell. Show your audience how you feel rather than telling them. This will help them to connect with your emotions on a deeper level. This works more, especially for those who are doing pitches or presentations. You have to show, you have to describe, body movement and all that. It makes you more convincing. But if you are writing, you can describe with words. Like I said, practice makes better. You keep practicing and you get better in using your vocabulary to express yourself. So use emotional triggers like music, images, or metaphors to evoke emotions and create a connection. Of course, that's better for physical presentations, but just so you know, and then make it personal. Make your story personal, sharing your passions, values, and motivations to create a connection with your audience. So important. Now, the power of being vulnerable. Do you know being vulnerable is a superpower? I know many people usually think being vulnerable means you are weak. No, it's not weakness anymore. Maybe in the 1960s or years back, but now being vulnerable is a superpower, just as long as you know how to manage the balance. So being vulnerable is a powerful tool for creating emotional connection. Not everybody is okay with, there's some stories you don't need to share in public. Like I said in, I think day 1 or 2, you don't need to bring out all your dirty linen outside in public. There's a boundary to the kind of stories you tell. And like I always say, keep it professional, keep it simple, keep it clear. You don't need to share gory details or dirty details to become viral or to get people to feel sorry for you. Pity is a very temporary feeling. After a while, it transcends into disgust. So you need to be very wise and careful and cautious with the words you use and the kind of information you disclose about yourself. So you be vulnerable, and by sharing your vulnerabilities, you create a sense of trust and empathy with your audience. Of course, that's by being authentic, not being fake. So being vulnerable shows that you are human. Human connection is just about showing a side of you that not many people see. It's not about losing guard, as they say, but it's just about being vulnerable and being real, being honest, just like your audience, and they'll be willing to take risk and be open with you. If they feel you are guarded, it's a vibe, really. Sometimes when you're in a conversation with people, you can easily tell that they are guarding information, they are guarding themselves, and automatically you also will become defensive and guard yourself as well. So it's just human instinct, basically. So that's just to buttress the fact that emotions drive decisions. So as usual, we have an example of David, who's a coach and who was having a serious problem in sales, basically because he did not know how to connect emotionally with his clients. But once he was able to overcome that, his sales increased by 25% after using emotional storytelling, not pity storytelling, not fake stories just to make people feel sorry for you or telling lies. No, it's just telling the real story, the authentic story, by being vulnerable and sharing the parts that are relevant, in terms of pain points of your clients, by telling them how you feel. Oh, I was so overweight and I was always feeling ashamed. I didn't want to be taking pictures. I hate looking at myself in the mirror. So if someone else who is also in this same situation hears what I'm saying or reads what I'm saying, maybe if I write it down, they can also feel the same pain points and they will find themselves more endeared to me. And as usual, we move on to our action plan. Yes, yes, yes. Identify emotions associated with your offer, develop an emotional connection with your audience, and use storytelling to evoke emotions. Emotional connection is the key to unlocking the hearts of your audience. And by creating a genuine, authentic, and emotional connection, you can inspire, motivate, and move your audience, because you need to be able to inspire them to take action. And remember to be authentic. Use sensory details. Remember sensory details. Show, don't tell. Use emotional triggers and make it personal. So the power of emotional connection is in your hands. You've got to use it wisely. And for our assignment, write a story that evokes emotions. Now, I may not be able to take a look at the story, but when you write the story, just give it to a friend, family, or someone close to you and ask them to give you feedback on how it feels like. But if you have a way of contacting me, I can always review and tell you if the story evokes emotions or not. And of course, as usual, I either give you a thumbs up or I tell you you need to do that again. Thank you. So we're moving on to day 5. You're welcome. I welcome you once again. Thank you so much for staying through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. Thank you so much. I feel so honored. I'm so super excited that you have stayed through to this point of time with me. My name is Dr. Ishioma Elora Ona, otherwise known as Dr. Ish, your one and only chief story seller. Yes, and I'm so excited to be taking you on this course, Unlocking the Power of Storytelling. And we are now on day 5, attending to the topic being authentic and vulnerable. All right, so we are moving ahead. Now, what does it mean to be authentic and be vulnerable? The heart of a compelling story needs those two crucial factors: being authentic and being vulnerable. So important, because as a storyteller, you have the power to connect with your audience on a deep and meaningful level. Remember, our emphasis is always on connection, deep level, connection, meaningful level. But how do you create a connection that resonates with your audience? The answer lies in being authentic and being vulnerable, being trustworthy. Remember, we're always talking about the chaotic factor. Your audience has to trust you. And the only way they can trust you is when they see or hear or know that you are true to yourself. You are being authentic. You are being your real self. You are saying your truth. You are being vulnerable. And being authentic and being vulnerable are the foundations of a compelling story, allowing you to share your true self, your innermost being with your audience and to create a lasting impact. Now, authenticity builds trust. When there's no authenticity, there will be no trust. And let me tell you something, there's power in being authentic. When you're authentic, this is the key to building trust with your audience. There is no story you want to tell. If people just smell fakeness of you or smell that you're not being authentic, you're telling lies, you're concocting, they're not going to trust anything you say. So when you are true to yourself and your story, that is when you are being authentic. You're not just trying to be somebody you are not. You're not being pretentious. You're not pretending to have experiences that are not true to you or experiences you've never even had. So being authentic is about being raw, being honest, being transparent, being accountable. Not that you tell a story today and tomorrow when people ask you a question, you can't even remember what you said yesterday. So you have to be authentic. You have to be trustworthy. People, gaining trust is so difficult these days. And it just takes one simple lie. Oh, well, lie is a lie anyway, but it just takes one mistake to break that bond, that trust. So this is something you need to really be conscious of. When you're telling your stories, you have to be authentic and you have to be vulnerable because these elements are so crucial in creating deep relationships with your audience and most importantly in building trust, because without this you can't convert. And being authentic has several benefits. Number one is it builds trust. It builds trust with your audience, making them more likely to listen to your story and take action. If they don't trust you, they're not going to waste their time to listen to you. So when they listen to you, they will listen to you and therefore take action. It creates connection. Being authentic creates connection with your audience, making them feel like they're a part of your story. It increases credibility. Being authentic increases your credibility, making you more believable and relatable. All right? There's so much power, especially also in being vulnerable. There's power in being authentic, and there's also power in being vulnerable. And I'm going to share, that aspect with you now. And being vulnerable is the act of sharing your true self. Is the act of sharing your true self with your audience. You need to understand that there's a power to being authentic and also the power of being vulnerable. So being vulnerable is the act of sharing your true self with your audience, including your fears, your doubts, and your weaknesses, of course, with certain boundaries. So being vulnerable is about being open, honest, and willing to take risks. Of course, it comes with its own benefits, which are it creates empathy with your audience, making them more likely to understand and relate to your story. It builds connection with your audience, making them feel like they're part of your story, like they know you. And it increases authenticity because it makes you more believable and relatable. Now, how do you share your authentic and vulnerable self with your audience? How do you share it? Well, I will share with you my own tips. Be honest. Be honest about your experiences, your fears, and your doubts. Not everybody is going to like you. Not everybody is going to eventually buy from you. But stand your ground by being honest and being authentic and true to yourself. Don't pretend to be like Dr. Ish. I won't pretend to be like you. Don't pretend to be like anyone. It's not a competition. Don't steal someone else's story and pretend it's yours. No, you will eventually be found out. So be honest, share your story, including your struggles and your success, not just success, 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 success. I mean, balance it. So let them be balanced, not that you're sharing more struggles than success, so that people don't tend to see you as a failure, but balance it out. But people also want to see your struggles. Just let them know that you're a human being as well. You have blood running through your veins. Be open about your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses. Use I statements to share your thoughts and feelings. I am heavy on the I, right? Use I statements to share your thoughts and feelings and practice self compassion. Be kind to yourself as you share your authentic self and the vulnerable side of yourself. Okay, be kind. Be kind to yourself. It's so, so important. And as usual, we'll also share an example of Rachel, who is a founder of an agency who was having a very serious problem in being authentic and vulnerable with her clients, her audience, right? She had a problem communicating. She always wanted to appear strong, appear like everything was fine. She had a problem letting people know, when there were issues that, trials and tribulations she went through. I mean, she eventually got a certain level of success, but had a problem showing the behind the scenes of the process and stages and the journey she went through before getting to that point of success. But when she started doing that, sharing her own story, uh, there was a 40% increase in sales after sharing her vulnerabilities. So, I mean, that was a massive turn around for her business. Okay. And the benefits of being authentic and vulnerable basically are it increases trust with your audience. They trust you more because they know that you're not telling them lies. You try your best not to get into that. It's pretty messy because it spoils your brand. You'll be labeled a liar, and that's not so good. So it's best to just keep it simple and stick to what actually happened to you. It also creates a deeper connection, with your audience. It increases your credibility. People would vouch for you. That cases where anything would happen, and people say, no, that's not how Dr. Ish behaves. She may have her excesses, but this is who she is. Let your white be white, let your black be black, let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Because I mean, at the end of the day, people determine if they want to do business with you based on your character. So it increases your credibility, makes you more believable, more relatable, and of course, most of all, more human. And moving to our action plan, you share your vulnerabilities, showcase your unique perspective. Don't always act as if everything is always fine. People want to see the real you, not the pretentious you, not the aspect of everything is always fine. Of course, we're not saying become a pessimistic, but just show one or two sides of you showing that I feel your pain. I've been through this thing, and I understand how you feel. That's the part that connects most people. And of course, be genuine in your storytelling. No lies, no hypocrisy, no fake gist, no pity party. It doesn't really. There's not much to gain when you do that. It only makes people just get irritated and not even want to connect with you at all. Okay, it destroys your brand at the end of the day. So, in conclusion, being authentic and vulnerable is the heart of a compelling story. And by sharing your true self with your audience, you can create a connection that resonates with them on a deep and meaningful level. Remember to be honest, share your story, be open, use I statements, and practice self compassion. The benefits of being authentic and vulnerable, they are numerous. Trust me, I have enjoyed those benefits. And of course, part of it for me has been increased trust with my audience, a deeper connection, increased credibility. They see me as the number one person. If Dr. Ish tells you this is how it is, that is what it is. She's not going to sugarcoat it. She'll tell you how it is. And of course, it makes you more human and more relatable. And as usual, our assignment is to share a personal story, that shows you in your vulnerable state. Not sad story, please, not story full of tears, just to show that you have challenges at some point that you overcame, and then we'll see how that goes. Please don't forget to share your experience with me, and I'll see you in day 6. Yeah, welcome back. So good to have you back. Thank you for surviving day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we are on day 6. I hope you have been implementing everything we have been learning, the action plans, the assignments, because knowledge is complete waste if you've learned so much and you're not implementing. Implementation is key. Very important. If you know me, if you've been in any of my live classes, I always love and place so much emphasis on the practical aspects of our learnings. That's like 100% kind of thing for me. Practical is always important because practice makes better, not perfect, because we keep trying to get 1% better every day than what we were yesterday. So today on day 6, we'll be handling storytelling in sales conversations, right? My name is Dr. Ishoma Elora Ona, also known as Dr. Ish. So I will be handling today's class, like I said, storytelling in sales conversations. Before you close a deal with your lead, your client, your prospect, whatever terminology you wish to use, you must have had emotional connections with them of some sort, connected with them of some sort, being authentic, being vulnerable, and most importantly, having conversations before you can eventually close the deal. You cannot meet a client or whoever it is today and close the deal tomorrow. Conversations will need to have been had. All right. I remember a student of mine called me. Oh no, she sent me a WhatsApp message yesterday. Oh, Dr. Ish, I've got great news for you. I just got a remote job. And it was because she infused storytelling into her interview session. Now that's totally mind blowing because I just trained her about having them in conversations, not even in interview sessions. But anyway, I mean, a conversation is a conversation. When it could be an impromptu interview session. So as a sales professional, everybody is a sales professional, please. Even if you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever, you are in the business of selling yourself, selling what you do. So as a sales professional, you are constantly looking for ways to connect with your customers. It's so important because you want to build trust and ultimately close deals. And one of the most effective ways to achieve these goals is through storytelling. Trust me, money back guarantee. Try it. It always works. It has never failed me for one day. Storytelling has the power to transform your sales conversations, making them more engaging, memorable, and impactful. So why does storytelling matter in sales? Very important question. I always like, throwing questions like that, answering them as much as I can, and waiting for your feedback if you need more explanation. So the question is, why does storytelling matter in sales? Storytelling matters in sales because it creates emotional connections. Remember, we've been mentioning emotional connection, deep, meaningful level, deep level. So important. Being authentic, being vulnerable, resonating, relatable, important. These words are very crucial and things you need to take note of. It creates emotional connection because it has the power to evoke emotions, creating a connection between your customers and you on a deeper level. It also builds trust. Stories can build trust with your customers, making them more likely to believe in you. They need to believe in you before they can believe in your product or your service. It differentiates your product. Stories can differentiate your product or service from the competition, making it more memorable and impactful. Number 4 is it simplifies complex information. Stories can simplify complex information, making it easier for your customers to understand and relate to. So how do you use storytelling in sales conversations? I'm sure that's what you're thinking to ask me next. Like, Dr. Ish, okay, you said storytelling in sales conversations. How am I going to be discussing with a client and just start telling them once upon a time? Is that how it works? Okay, so don't be scared. I'm going to give you an explanation on how that can work for you. All right, especially when you are pitching for your business, your service, or even trying to get a job, because opportunities like this always come up, sometimes planned, sometimes impromptu. So you just need to know the basics. So how do you use storytelling in sales conversations or in pitching yourself or whatever it is you want? And here are a few tips. You can just tweak them to be suitable to you at any point in time. First thing, you start with a hook. Remember, we always talk about this hook being the headline, which is the beginning of the story you want to tell. Whether it is being written or being said, you must start with a hook. That first line to grab their attention. So when you start with a hook, it grabs your customer's attention, and you have to use Customer-centric language. Use language that is centered around your customers' needs and pain points. If you do not know what their needs and pain points are, please do a research so that when you are speaking to them, you are interjecting those words regularly. Keep it concise. I'm always talking about removing fluff and irrelevancies. They will just get bored and zone out, and you really don't want them to zone out because the average human being's attention span these days is so poor, so low. Every little thing, too many distractions around. All right. So keep your story concise and to the point, avoiding unnecessary details. So use storytelling frameworks, right? Like the hero's journey, how you went from ground zero to ground 100, your journey, the steps you took, the process and steps you took in moving yourself from point A to point B. People are really curious to know about that. That makes it more authentic and makes it more believable. It's not a magic or flash in the pan. There needs to be a process or a formula, or as they say, show your workings. So you have to show them your workings and show them how you arrived at that point in time, and the kind of problems you solve, the systems you use in solving those problems, and look for a way to tie it to their current challenge or whatever it is you have promised some certain results, and stick within a problem agitation solution framework to structure your story. Remember, problem agitation solution framework to structure your story. And then practice, 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 practice. Keep practicing. Practice your storytelling skills to whoever is ready to listen to you, and let them keep critically analyzing you. The more you do it, the better you become, so you can deliver your story confidently and effectively. Please don't take this for granted. You need to practice it. Don't wait for the opportunities to come. You start creating those opportunities with your friends and family, because at least you be a bit comfortable with them, and then they can analyze and tell you, oh, you don't sound believable. No, your story is not nice, until you can grab their attention, and then you know that yes, you are getting somewhere. I usually recommend sometimes, especially if it has to be a physical presentation, you stand in front of a mirror and analyze yourself, and test run and see. Or you could even do a video recording and send to a couple of friends to analyze your story, and maybe put, find out areas that you need to work on. All right. So there are several types of stories you can tell in sales and conversations. They include customer success stories of your other customers. Please don't lie. Some may want to verify, so you need to be very careful and cautious here. Tell them actual truth, what happened, what the problems are. Don't overblow them and don't shrink them. Keep it straight and concise. So success of how you help them to achieve success with your product or your service. You know, product origin stories that share the story of how your product or your service was created, your why, your purpose, why did you create it, and what problems are you hoping to solve with those problems. So problem solution stories, which is to share stories of how your product or service solves a specific problem or pain point. Then we have personal stories. Share personal stories of how you've helped customers achieve their goals. All right. This is so, so important. And then this takes us to the benefit of storytelling in sales, because there are lots of benefits in storytelling in sales. So many people that came from my classes that use storytelling in sales have been able to convert leads, generate. In fact, I have a particular month in October 2024. I generated 269 leads that month. I went all out. My stories were so structured and targeted. I got 269 leads, and quite a number of them were foreigners. As we speak, I'm still sieving through them, because not all the leads will be necessarily qualified, but showed some certain level of interest. And that's even the ones I could keep track of. So ultimately, storytelling helps so well in sales conversations, especially when you are writing stories and people are reading your stories. It has a very powerful way of converting people over to your side and your values, and of course pick a lot of interest, right? So the benefits of storytelling in sales conversations are numerous, and they include: it increases engagement, it and participation in sales conversations. Your clients, the more they'll be asking questions. Really? That happened to you? You experienced this? How did you come out of it? And then you find out that your story is getting longer because you're explaining more. They're interested, they are nodding, they're saying yes, and they're or they're wild. As long as you're able to get that connection, it becomes smooth sailing from that point on, because that rapport becomes more increased, and the connection gets deeper and deeper the more you are speaking and vibing with each other. So the improved retention, it helps them to recall more information about your product or service, making it more likely that customers remember your product or service rather than facts and figure, which is boring for some people. It also increases trust and credibility with customers, making it more likely that they will do business with you. And the sweetest part for me is it differentiates you, because you're not the only one in this business. You're not the only one doing what you're doing now. So your storytelling skill, the better it becomes, differentiates you from other people selling your product or service or looking for a job within the same industry. It just makes you stand out from competition, making it more memorable and impactful, right? But storytelling, like I said, isn't just for marketing. It can be used by anybody, no matter the profession. It can be used by anybody. It's such a wonderful skill that it can transcend from for lawyers, doctors, nurses, social media, copywriting, sales, marketing, business consulting, you name it. Storytelling can work for any aspect of life. It works a lot, right? And as usual, you know how we do it. We always have our examples of clients who have worked in the past with us, and we just share. Of course, for confidentiality purpose, we don't share too much information, but just to give you an idea of how to practicalize things. So we have here Michael, who's a sales expert, who started using storytelling. Initially, he wasn't closing sales. Everywhere was a dead end, silence. And when I started telling stories of, success stories of other clients who had used, not necessarily through him, but through his organization, who had used their products and services, and, the testimonies that came with it, telling the stories of the challenges the clients faced and how the products changed their lives, conversion rate increased by 20%. So using storytelling in sales calls is absolutely amazing. Now, you may not just get it immediately, but more you use it, the better you become at it, right? And of course, as usual, I will just, in briefly, in conclusion, before we move to the action plan, storytelling is just like a brief recap, is a powerful tool in sales conversations. It allows you to connect with your customers, build trust, and ultimately close deals. And by using storytelling frameworks, keeping your story concise and practicing your skills, you can become a master storyteller in sales conversations. Remember that the benefits of storytelling in sales conversations are numerous, including increased engagement, improved retention, increased trust, and differentiation. And moving to the action plan, I would say develop a storytelling skill for sales conversation. Sorry. Like I said, the more you practice, the better you become. Practice, 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 practice sharing customer success stories. Write them down and rehearse with your friends or family. Let them analyze and use storytelling to overcome objections. When your clients say, "Oh, it's too expensive," then tell the story of someone who said it was expensive and how you helped to convince them and how the product or service transformed their lives. Okay, that's just an example. And as usual, our assignment. So, role play a sales conversation using storytelling with a friend or a family member or a fellow colleague, and let them analyze how well or how not well you did it. And if you have a way of contacting me, you could do a role play in a video and send to me. And as usual, I either give you a thumbs up or I correct you on how you can do it better. So, we are moving to day 7. Hi, you're welcome to day 7 of unlocking the power of storytelling. It's been such an exciting past few days with you. I'm so pumped up, so excited, so happy that you've stayed through to the end. I mean, 7-day class, trust me, I know it's not so easy staying through it all, but I trust that day 1 was exciting, day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now to day 7 is power packed, value packed, and trust me, if you can just go through all the slides again, if you still need to find out one or two things you're not sure of, if you can Implement all that you have learned with the action plans I gave you and the assignments. Trust me, your writing game, your presentation game will definitely not be the same again after this, because I have shared with you the basics of what can help to become a game changer in your life, a game changer in your personal branding, a game changer in your sales conversations, a game changer in how you interact and communicate with people, how you can create deeper and more meaningful connections with people by showing your true and authentic and vulnerable self, not losing your self-esteem, mind you, but getting more deep, valuable, and meaningful relationships, which at the end of the day will add positively to your bottom line with your audience, your clients, your target audience, your prospects, your leads, whoever it is you're having a relationship with. Trust me, it is a game changer. It has changed my life and the life of many of my students who started applying the principles of storytelling. So moving on to day 7, the final day of this master class. If there's any way you can reach me on LinkedIn, Dr. Ishoma Elora Ona, you can send me a message there, a DM. If you need any more explanations in for any of the topics, I would be happy to explain further. But I'm sure that you would have gained so much value from this 7-day class. So today we are talking about measuring storytelling success. We've gone through the art of storytelling, being authentic, being vulnerable, so many aspects of storytelling. And now I want to show you how to measure, the storytelling success, how to know if you're getting it right or getting it wrong, and then we move on. Because as a storyteller, you invest time and effort into crafting compelling stories. Remember, I'm always talking about writing it down, practicing, rehearsing, and keep doing it until you get better at it. So compelling these stories is not as easy as people think it is. Writing these compelling stories, is not as easy as people think it is, but you need to start from somewhere. I hear people tell me, oh, Dr. Ish, but I don't know how to tell stories. Nobody was born to know how to tell stories, but you need to practice it. You need to start by writing it and then saying it. I know how to write it and I know how to say it because I've been doing it for over 15 years. Some people are very good in writing it, but in expressing themselves may be a bit of a challenge, while some know how to express but may not know how to write, vice versa. But I have over time, because I have taken time to intentionally practice it, do both the writing aspect of storytelling and the speaking aspect. It comes with practice. And if you have any challenges or issues, when it comes to presenting, pitching, storytelling, public speaking, and all that, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just as my name appears on the screen, Dr. Ishioma Elora Ona. Send me a DM and then we can take it from there. So, how do you know if your stories are having the desired impact? Measuring storytelling success is crucial to understanding the effectiveness of your stories and making data-driven decisions to improve them, right? Because we don't tell stories because we just feel like talking, or because we feel like gossiping, or because we feel like making anyone feel nice or make ourselves feel good. There must be a relevance to it. There must be a target to it, especially if you're in sales. You're not telling stories because you feel like whiling away time. You're telling stories because you want the client or your audience, if you're writing, to make informed decisions, and so that you yourself can make data-driven decisions to know how to improve on your storytelling style or the type of story to tell. Remember, we spoke about origin stories, personal stories, and there's so many kinds of stories. So you find that one which works for you. So measuring storytelling success matters, because why does it matter? Remember, I'm always out for the questions. It matters because it helps you understand your audience. With time, you get to know the kind of stories your audience wants to hear and your stories your audience don't want to hear. Storytelling is not about you. Please don't get it wrong. It's about your audience. Yes, you're telling stories about yourself, about your clients, about your journey, about your success, about your failures, but you're telling those stories bearing in mind the end result of how this is relevant to your audience. You're not telling it because you want to make yourself feel good, or because you are looking for pity. Remember, we are looking for results for yourself in terms of sales, or your personal brand, or for your clients in terms of solving their own pain points. So it helps you understand your audience by measuring the impact of your stories. You can gain insights into what resonates with your audience and what doesn't. So if it doesn't resonate with them, you stop it immediately. And if it resonates, you keep doing it and you keep getting better. Two, it improves your storytelling effectiveness by evaluating the success of your stories. You can identify areas for improvement and refine your storytelling approach. Three, enhances credibility and trust. By demonstrating the impact of your stories, you can build credibility and trust with your audience. Four, it informs future storytelling efforts. By measuring the success of your stories, you can inform future storytelling efforts and make data-driven decisions. So there are certain metrics that people use for measuring storytelling success, and I mean, I would say that there are quite a number, but so we don't overstretch this too long and so it doesn't become too complicated for you, I'll just speak to about four. Now, engagement metrics. These metrics are measures such like amount of shares you get, comments, and views can indicate how engaging your story is. So you will not measure it only by the likes. No, you will measure it by the likes, shares, and comments. So that is what lets you know that, oh, the viewers really enjoyed this or they did not enjoy it at all. Then two is the emotional resonance metrics. It measures things like sentiments, emotional response, the kind of responses. I mean, you have to go to the comment section to actually read and indicate how well your story resonates with your audience. So the more people are engaging in terms of comments, when you're looking at the comments, we're not talking about thanks for sharing, oh, inspirational, thank you, God bless you. No, we're not looking at that. We're looking at deep analysis of the comments. It shows their level of understanding, if they actually understood the story you were telling. Right? Another metric is behavioral metrics. Metrics such as click-through rates, conversion rates, and sales can indicate how well your story drives behavior. So you can tell a story and then you can get 200 leads from just one story. And you can tell a story and you will not get any lead at all. Right? So you can even tell a story and the 200 leads you got, out of 200 leads, 50 converted. So that is what they mean by behavioral metrics. Then you have return on investment, ROI metrics. Methods such as returns on ad. Maybe if you decide to do a sponsored ad on your story, it can indicate the financial impact on your storytelling efforts. But I don't really use so much of that. I do more of the engagement metrics, the emotional resonance metrics, and the behavioral metrics. But return on investment metrics also is very credible and factual, because we are talking about data driven KPIs, so that you are sure that you are not just telling irrelevance, because at the end of the day, we are all looking for results, right? So there are certain methods for measuring storytelling success, and there are several of them. So I'll just attend to just a few. So one is surveys and focus groups. You collect the feedback from your audience to understand how they respond to your stories. Another is analytic tools. I know LinkedIn has that, so you can always measure that on a daily basis. So you use analytic tools such as Google Analytics or social media analytics tools to track engagement and behavioral metrics. So you don't need to start calculating manually in your brain. All these things can be gotten online. Then we have what we call A and B testing. These different versions of your story to see which one performs better. This story against this story. This story against this story. It's always also a very nice way. Also, we have storytelling metrics frameworks, such as the storytelling storytelling metric frameworks. Basically you just use it to evaluate the impact of your stories. How impactful is it? But at the end of the day, for me personally, speaking for myself, I mean, the survey and focus groups, the analytic tools, A and B testing, I leverage more on those ones. But just so that you have the information and use whichever makes some sense for you. So there are certain challenges also in measuring storytelling success. Because I mean, we are human beings, and we've been talking about emotional connection, deep connection, and all that. But the truth of the matter is, storytelling is subjective. Let's be honest here, it is subjective. I could tell a story and it resonates with one person and not resonate with the other, depending on how they choose to interpret it. So it is subjective, right? So that's why we say it leverages more on emotional connection and the pain points matter. So if someone is not having that experience of the story I'm sharing, they may not have any reason to resonate with it. So it's a subjective experience. It makes it difficult to quantify its impact because it relies heavily on emotion, and it can be misleading too because these metrics are just to guide you. I mean, human nature can be so peculiar and strange. People easily switch, depending on, some people can even resonate with the story based on their mood. Maybe they were happy today and they received the story properly, and the next day you share the same story and they're angry. So it can be misleading. And if for some reason they may not have even caused the full impact of the story, by the time they read it again, they're like, no, this doesn't sound interesting at all, it's boring. So you have to be careful of that, or have that in mind. And storytelling is a long-term investment. It's something that you just have to keep doing. Like I said, I've been doing it for quite a while. So it makes it difficult to impact in short term because you have to consistently tell stories. Now, not lies, please. I'm talking about, factual stories, of things that actually happened, and it may take a bit of time. So you have to track your storytelling ROI. It's so important, so that you are sure whether your story is actually relevant to the people that you are telling this story. And as usual, we always have our example. We have James, who's a solopreneur, and when he started taking when he started tracking, because I strongly believe in tracking. You must track the numbers. Don't say because it's storytelling, so there's no need to track. No, you have to. So when he started tracking his numbers, he was able to optimize his storytelling strategy. I'm not talking about optimizing profile. I'm talking about optimized storytelling strategy, because storytelling too also involves strategy. Remember, I talked about relevance, and that relevance has to do with uh, you know, writing out the pain points and problems of your clients, writing out the features and benefits of what you can give to them, how soon they can get the result, or whatever it is point you're trying to drive home. It's so crucial that you apply strategy to it. I mean, its strategy is very, very essential, especially for business and sales oriented people. Okay, so as usual, our action plan is to set storytelling metrics, engagement, conversions, and the other ones I earlier mentioned. Track and analyze your results. I mean, be on top of the tracking. Don't go to sleep on it, so that you are sure that you are making data-driven, informed decisions. Okay, not just emotional decisions. Yes, you're telling stories to hit people emotionally, but you must be very factual and logical about the data you are getting to analyze your results and adjust your storytelling strategy accordingly. Right? Remember, as I said, that measuring storytelling success is crucial to understanding the impact of your stories and making data-driven decisions to improve them by using metrics such as engagement, emotional resonance, behavioral and ROI metrics, and the methods such as survey, analytics tools, A/B testing, and storytelling metrics framework is what you can use to evaluate the success of your stories and refine your storytelling strategy and approach. Remember, measuring your storytelling success can be challenging. Remember, I said it's not so objective, because it depends on the perception of whoever is reading your story or listening to your story. It's essential to understand that the impact of your story, the information cannot be gathered if you create or follow the necessary metrics to be sure that you are using the right strategy. You may be telling the right story to the wrong people, or the wrong story to the right. You know how it is. So you have to make sure you're telling the right story to the right people, and not the right story to the wrong people. So that's of course that comes from, even first of all, understanding your target audience. And then we move on to the assignment, which is share your metrics and insights after a while. I mean, you can just try to start the storytelling journey, and in a week or so, most times on social media, within a week or so, you start seeing the results or the traction of, because what happens is that it tells the algorithm when more people are taking note of your story, engaging with your story, engaging with your post or your content, and making comments, and of course sharing and liking. And as usual, you can tag me in your post, and I either give you a thumbs up or I correct you on how to do it better. And don't forget, hit me up if you have any questions or any other things you need to find out. You can have a discussion with me on LinkedIn, Dr. Ishoma Elora Ona, also known as Dr. Ish. And I'll see you some other time. For any of my other courses, please reach out to me. Take good care and stay amazing.
So knowing it isn't enough. The magic is in doing it. So here's what I want you to do. Choose one story that you've written before, rewrite it using the framework you have just learned. You just learned about 7 magnetic storytelling moves that turn scrolls into stops, likes into leads, and posts into powerful client attraction tools. Post it or send it to someone in your audience and watch how differently they will react. And if you want to go deeper in understanding the frameworks you just learned, or get story scripts, or even get one-on-one help, click on the link in the description to join the Story Lab, and I'll see you there.